Hello, good evening. As promised yesterday, I am back to talk to you about the law of contrast. And my name is Kevin Bees. And the reason I want to share this with you is the law of contrast is a very powerful law that will help you to help people make more effective decisions. Maybe to help them decide to buy your product versus a competitor's product, or to even buy the higher size product of yours, or the bigger or better version of your product when in comparison to something else. So there's a real value in understanding this law. So what is it? What is the law of contrast? The law of contrast is when we compare one thing in comparison to another. And how can we use this in our advantage? Let me start off with a common example. You may, in this day and age, you may shop on the internet. And if you do, you may frequently see something like, hey, you can have, oops, if I can get this around, option A, which is here at $49, and you get these two items, or you can have option B, which has all of these. If I get cameras in reverse, you can have all of these things. I can't line up. Or option C, you can have these things. Now, it helps by comparison. People will maybe more frequently choose the middle option because it's it looks like there's the most value in that. As an example, hey, some people go for the larger option, some people go for the smaller option, but in framing it this way, it helps people make a decision. Now, what's interestingly, I worked with a very large and well-known coaching organization, and typically they used this technique. They would offer people to join the program for 6 months worth of coaching, paying for now, 12 months worth of coaching, or 18 months, or 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months were the three options. So of course, most people chose the 6 month option. Okay, it probably felt like somewhere the safe option in between. Now, interestingly, what they did is they dropped the 3 month option. They took that off of the table and instead offered a 6 month, 12 month, and 18 month option to pay up front. Now, what actually happened in that situation is more people started buying the 12 month option. Okay, so they effectively took people from, on average, buying a 6 month package to a 12 month package. They effectively doubled their profitability by changing the contrast. So what is it that you can contrast? What can you do to help contrast that? Maybe you need to drop your lowest price option and have even more expensive price option, and that will encourage people to buy upwards. That could be a very effective strategy to do. What else I want to say about that? Contrast, you probably see examples of contrast all the time. I think about a really classic advert that I used to see as a kid, and it would be, I don't know, like American Express or something, so Dave with his American Express. Now, two people would arrive to a new country and their bags would be lost. There would be Dave and there would be John. Now, Dave has American Express, but poor John, he doesn't. Now, neither of them have their bags, but poor John is kind of left outside of the airport. He's in the rain, it's cold, it's dark, it's wet. Life is hard for John because he doesn't have American Express. But Dave, on the other hand, Dave has American Express. Because Dave has American Express, he's whisked off in a limousine. He's at the poolside hotel. It's bright, it's sunny. There's a beautiful woman with him. He's sipping cocktails. His bags show up. Life's great when you have American Express. So in that example, they kind of use contrast of what pain someone would have if they didn't use their product, and what pleasure they would have if they did. And this is just for a piece of plastic. Okay, so using the contrast frame can be a very effective way to outline the benefits of your product or service over another's, or your product or service over what would happen if you didn't have it. So how could you use this in your business, I think is the key question. Could you be comparing or contrasting with what are the great features of your product or service versus competitors, or what are the great benefits or features of your product or service over what it was last year, or as we used before in the example in terms of the pricing, what are the examples in the pricing? If you have kids, potentially you can use the law of contrast with them. You could maybe ask them, did you want to go to bed at 6 p.m. tonight or 6:30? Now 6:30 is of course way more appealing. You might be happy with 6:30 already, but had you said, hey, you got to go to bed at 6:30, then they may already be negotiating with you to go to bed at 7. But said, because you said, hey, 6 or 6:30, then they're happy to take the 6:30. Okay, so just a very clever way to frame it. I think another example around that may be, hey, you can either eat all of your vegetables now and play with your toys, or you can sit there all night until you're eating them and not play with your toys. So it depends how you want to use this, right? So anyway, we're here for a business purpose. I was aiming at 2 minutes. I kind of rambled on a little bit longer, but law of contrast. Let's see how you can use it effectively. I will be back with some more tomorrow. Have yourself a great evening, and I will catch you then.